Hi, it's Christina at Cemetery of Choice, where we look at abortion deaths from both before and after legalization, just to see what we can learn from them so that regardless of the legal status of abortion, we can at least try to protect women from some of these people. And the anniversaries today, which is July 29th, are from a variety of situations. The only thing they really have in common is, that the woman ended up dead. And the first one, um, a 34-year-old woman of White Plains, New York, named Agnes, died July 29th, 1941, from peritonitis caused by complications of 3 abortion attempts perpetrated on July 11th, 26th, and 28th. Agnes left 2 children motherless. 2 doctors, Nathan Schwartz and Samuel Schwartz, not related, were charged with first-degree manslaughter in her death. I have a recent article, no, not recent, but recently found. I'm always checking, looking for more information, and another article from the New York newspaper as my sources about Agnes. I have been unable to find out anything further about the case. And then we have 1949, a professional lay abortionist. This guy, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, P.D. Bigan. He was actually a contractor. So how in the world he wound up becoming an abortionist is a bit of a mystery, especially since he was in the Atlanta area. When you're in a large city, there's always doctors. But just Dorothy was just shy of her 24th birthday. She went to, I can't pronounce his name. I'm going to call him by his initials, PD. Went to PD's home with the assistance of a man named Virgil Eccles, who had helped her to arrange the abortion. So PD took Dorothy into a back room, and Eccles was waiting in the living room. Then he heard a sound he described as a slump. The abortionist called for help, and he found Dorothy slumping and unconscious and making a gurgling sound. So the 2 men put Dorothy on the bed. Eccles tried to revive her, asked the abortionist what happened. He said he'd packed Dorothy's uterus with gauze, which was an accepted abortion method at the time. It sounds kind of horrific to us, but it wasn't that weird then. The men summoned the police and an ambulance. I really, really need to give them credit for that because they were going to be in a lot of trouble. However, they did come up with a phony story, which is that they'd been sitting in the living room with Dorothy when she'd felt faint, and then they'd moved her to the bed when she fainted. But when the police arrived, Dorothy was already dead. The autopsy found that Dorothy's cervix had been dilated, discolored, and abraded. They believe that the gauze had been forced into her uterus, but no gauze was present at autopsy. The abortionist had probably removed it. They concluded that Dorothy had gone into shock and died within a few minutes of her injury. The fetus, about 3 to 4 months of gestation, an obstetrician testified that the abortion attempt had probably not been what killed the baby. It's the fact that Dorothy died and the baby would have died from lack of oxygen. And in trial, it came out that Eccles had previously brought his own wife to this guy for an abortion in June of 1948. She had become very sick. Eccles had pulled a 6-inch rubber tube, which again was a common abortion instrument at the time. This wasn't like this guy was doing something weird. And about 60 feet of gauze out of his wife's uterus. She was brought to the hospital with 104-degree fever. She got penicillin and a blood transfusion. It's really unclear why this guy brought his friend to this guy for an abortion when he very nearly killed his wife. But at any rate, the abortionist went on trial for murder for Dorothy's death. The jurors voted, they found him guilty, they convicted him, and 10 of the 12 jurors voted for the death penalty for him. That's how seriously these deaths were taken. They weren't the trivial thing they're treated as today. But 2 of the jurors held out, so they voted on life in prison, and it took them an hour of deliberation to come out for that. And then the guy lost his appeal. And what's a really creepy coincidence is that another young woman died the following September from complications of an abortion. She actually died before Dorothy's abortionist went on trial, and she lived in the same building as Dorothy. And I've been unable to find out, because I only just found out about this other woman's death today when I was doing some more research. So I haven't been able to find out much about her, whether this might have been a rooming house where they really didn't see each other very much, or they might have shared an apartment or a home. I have no idea. And you can see, let me bring you down to, see, these are my sources for that case. I've got lots of articles, plus I have link to court case here. So this was his appeal. So all of that information is there for that case. Okay. So, and then we have misdiagnoses in 1985. And a 26-year-old woman named Yvette went to Dr. Marion Dorn Jr. at the Ladies Clinic in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, she went to him on July 16th of 85. Her surviving mother and sister said that Dorn didn't examine the tissue he removed from her uterus and did not notify Yvette that the lab report showed no fetal or placental tissue in the specimen, which is an immediate sign that she actually had an ectopic pregnancy. Now, this is 1985, so a pre-abortion ultrasound would not be the norm, but doing a pathology report to make sure you actually have, first of all, a complete abortion, even if the fetus was in the uterus, you need to, you need to count 2 arms, 2 legs, a spine, a head, enough glop to account for the internal organs, and a placenta. You're looking to make sure everything's there, because if you send her home with an incomplete abortion, she can die of infection or hemorrhage. So they did nothing to notify her that they'd got no fetus or placental tissue. Which is a sign that she actually had an ectopic pregnancy. Now, women who have an ectopic pregnancy, in theory, the ones that choose abortion should be less likely to die, because that ectopic pregnancy would be diagnosed before they started to show symptoms, and she would be able to get care before it ruptured. But in real life, in practice, these women are actually more likely to die, because they've been to the abortion clinic, they've been diagnosed with a uterine pregnancy, which they believe has been gotten rid of. So they will attribute post-abortion pain to just after effects of the abortion. And sometimes the clinic will even blow them off. Oh, no, that's normal, that's normal. So on July 27th, Yvette experienced sudden, sharp, constant lower abdominal pain and was taken to the hospital by her fiance. She was admitted to the emergency room and told the doctors about the abortion, and they diagnosed her as having pelvic inflammatory disease and gave her some medication. Again, missing that ectopic pregnancy because of the assumption that any pregnancy had been gotten rid of. Yvette continued to experience pain, called the hospital, but was told to give the medication a chance to work. And early in the morning of the 29th, she collapsed at home, was taken by ambulance to the hospital, and she went into cardiac arrest due to a ruptured ectopic pregnancy that both Dorn and the hospital staff had failed to diagnose. So Unfortunately, right now, my Cemetery of Choice website is down. It's being completely reworked into something that you guys are going to find so easy to navigate. It is going to be so great for finding any kind of information that you want. But that means I can't link to Yvette's story and my source documents. But here's hoping we'll have that up and running soon. Click like and subscribe and share this video, and let's see if we can underwrite me doing some research to find out a little bit more about how and why some criminal abortionists were able to continue practicing in spite of dead patients. That's something we need to know, because if Roe gets overturned and abortion is banned again, it's naive to think that the quacks will just go to jail any more than it was naive to think that legalizing would keep Kermit Gosnell from doing what he did.